we're really asking is for our freedoms to be exercised and our rights to be heard, and to set a meeting with a member of Parliament here, which you haven't even asked us for actually, which is your job. You know, we're paying taxes and supposed to be offered certain services by our elected officials, and that's certainly not happening here today.
We understand your position. We're used to it. That's what we have a problem with.
But is that the position of the Conservative Party, or is it your personals?
And I'm a big Ron Paul fan. I've given him $4,000 in the last 8 years or so, and you know, he's a traditional conservative who believes in individual rights, sovereignty, and that's what we're arguing here today. Marc Emery and Canadian sovereignty is at stake. We have a Canadian citizen that was extradited to a foreign country to serve a crime and then sentenced by people that aren't his peers. Obviously, he's a Canadian to them. Americans don't treat foreigners pretty well, and the fact that he gets a 5-year prison term for a crime that would have been a $200 fine in this country is, like Compton said, it's a gross miscarriage of justice. The fact that Justice Minister Rob Nicholson signed off on the extradition when it was completely politically driven, there's nothing we can do about that now. But we are here now to urge every member of Parliament, including the one that's in this office, to urge Public Safety Minister Vic Taves, who's responsible for bringing Canadians home from foreign prisons, and urge him to do so immediately. Or these occupations will get longer and more frequent. And as opposed to us being kind here today, although we have the legal right to light up, we wouldn't do so if there was some sort of concessions that could be made. We're not obviously asking that you agree with our position that drug use is great, or even medical marijuana. But there is some middle ground where conservative members of Parliament can make statements in regards to Canadian sovereignty as a whole, as a blanket issue, and that Canadians should be allowed to serve, and not necessarily Marc Emery as a specific case, but talking about generally as a general position of your party or your political philosophy. I would hope that you guys agree with Canadian sovereignty and those type of issues. I hope you agree with individual rights, but we're pushing it. We're making sure that you hold good to that if that is the case. And if it's not and you're against us, then we have a different course of action that we can take. And we'll smoke out this office every day. And we'll be back. And if you want to continue to, like she tried to do, and lock the doors, you will have some explaining to do to the general public about why, you know,
why the doors are locked.
And why the doors would be locked in the future, but why...
Well, the office actually closes at 4 o'clock.
Well, I was unaware of that. We've been looking for your office hours everywhere, but they're not posted anywhere.
Well, they're on the door there, so we're actually closed 15 minutes ago.
Okay.
Now, is anyone here actually constituent of the office?
I'm from Markham.
Yeah.
From what part of Markham are you from?
But under Section 20, realistically, any Canadian has the right to set a meeting with a member of Parliament.
And I'm a member of the Conservative
Highway
Party.
7 and...
Well, it's not a Conservative Party office, though. I want to clarify that, right? It's a government office. Sure,
and I'm a Canadian citizen. So regardless if I'm a member of this constituency, I have every right to be in here and make my voices heard.
Happy 420.
Happy 420, guys.
Happy 420.
Free Marc Emery!
Free Marc Emery!
I just don't understand how the government was able to take taxes from this guy. You know, Marc paid taxes on seed sales and
millions of dollars.
And our Canadian government referred its medicinal patients, its exemptees, to buy seeds from Marc. Our government referred its citizens. So how can they do that?
That's like, I don't understand how that works when you take money from somebody but then allow them to be, actually, even though they knew what he was doing, the government knew what he was doing, the government in Canada obviously knew what he was doing.
And we have our own laws and our own system and our own way to go about things. I don't understand why, like I'm a dual citizenship, I have American and Canadian citizen. I don't understand why those laws are being instituted on us as citizens who are here. He didn't even go onto American soil.
And operated here for 10 years, so if he was doing something wrong, why wouldn't our government have stopped him within those 10 years? Why wait for the Americans to come into our country?
And it's not wait, they actually...
And this drug war is insane. The prison system is being filled with victims, innocent people whose lives are being destroyed. And it's causing more harm than we can possibly comprehend.
Yeah, but we sanction alcohol, which everyone knows what it does to people, but our government sanctions it, makes money off, lots of money off revenue from liquor sales, beer sales, wine sales.
Tobacco.
Tobacco. And like, I just don't understand why our stance has been, you know, so anti-drug when obviously the rest of the world, there's other countries that have kind of decriminalized and gradually lowered the scale of what, you know, cannabis is or isn't in the eyes of the public and the government. And they realize it's a revenue stream and can be, you know, taxed and regulated as such. There's another revenue stream that is way better for you than alcohol, but alcohol is socially acceptable, cannabis isn't, right? But a lot more people smoke pot than even their polls say. They say, oh, 10% of people smoke pot. It's a lot more than that. People are just closet smokers that don't want to let their friends know or public, like, I know so many people.
It's because it's illegal. It's like during alcohol prohibition.
They're scared, yeah, you know, they don't want to get a criminal record. They don't want their work to find out.
Their kids to be taken away, their property to be stolen.
It's not really right that, like, bad enough he even has to go to jail for it, but to go to an American jail and our government to be complicit in him doing that, it's kind of disgusting, honestly.
And I'm not sure if you guys are aware, but the usual talking points are that nobody goes to jail for small amounts. But I've been arrested 13 times for cannabis-related offense. I'm 30 now, but since I've been 18 and an adult, I've been arrested 13 times. I faced 31 separate charges on those 13 encounters, and on my last appearance, I got sentenced to 6 months in jail. Every range I've ever been on, and I've been on many, from Barton to Maplehurst to Penetanguishene, we're talking 60 people on a range, it's 55 of them are drug offenders. Our prisons are overflowing, and it's not just white guys like me and you, literally. It's all the Asians, it's bikers, it's black guys, it's Indian, natives. We're talking, this is a culture war, and it's racistly motivated. The average white kid in the suburbs, you're right, most likely won't get caught smoking a joint, or if he's found with an ounce or less, he probably won't go to jail. But our jails are being filled with Asians and natives and drug users that are from the inner cities. These people are the most disadvantaged in our society, and yet they're punished to the most extreme level. Prohibition is what creates that risk premium, where if my older brother was to get arrested and go to jail, it just creates a job opening for me. If I was in the criminal element, I was a scofflaw trying to avoid law, which I'm not. I've realized at a very young age that the people that do that are trying to avoid getting caught when they're openly using anyways, and it's hypocritical. I've also smoked pot with many conservative members. I'm a member of the executive committee in Toronto Centre, and they're obviously very hypocritical when they can openly smoke a joint in private usually, and then at the same time advocate for other people that smoke marijuana to go to prison for the offense. So, but at the same time, my conservative values in this regard as a libertarian are that you don't even have to be for drug use. You can be anti-drug use, but the repeal of prohibition and my right to put in my body what I want to, as well as the Canadian sovereignty issues for people like Marc Emery and the things that are happening in that way. You don't, again, have to be for Marc Emery or his activities to know that that I should be allowed to smoke pot and he should be allowed to sell seeds, but do so in a way that our criminal justice system handles it. So although I've a big sentence, 6 months in jail, if I was in the United States anywhere, most likely I would have gotten 60 years or 20 to life or some kind of 10-year sentence, or they would have threatened me with 20 to life and I would have had to accept a 5-year prison term. This is not the way Canada should be. I don't want the U.S. war on drugs being imported into Canada, and that's what it looks like is happening.